absent. Abdus?
Here.
Haynes?
Here.
Burns?
Here.
Perez?
Present.
Smith?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, on to the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, can we get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Agenda is approved. On to the Pledge of Allegiance. Trustee Baines, will you lead us?
Great. Please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, does anybody have any conflict of interest?
I might recuse myself from item 6.
Okay.
So
Anything else? Okay. Any scheduled presentations?
No.
Okay. Any public comment?
No.
Scott.
Scott, yes.
Okay, on to the general manager's report.
General manager's report is provided in the board packet. Again, another busy month. We're starting to get in. We started pumping some water as we're receiving some tailwater runoff, and as they dewater rice fields in the northern part of the district. We have been pumping a little bit this month. In fact, the pumps are running this morning. The fishermen love it. I talked to two guys on the boat that were like, "When's it going to pump again?" Anyway, so we're pumping as the Thomas Water Company and their growers start to get ready for harvest of mainly rice. And so we've been pumping a little bit the past couple of weeks now. So that'll probably run through October, depending on where things fall. And then we're getting ready for our blessing. So we're doing all the prep work now. I will forward on to you an email that our operations supervisor, Tony DeCastillo, sent Gabe and I last night. And it's a very nice email, and I'll give it to you in detail. But he's been stopped numerous times in the past month, or really since the start of this summer, and we're doing maintenance activities. And he's been amazed at the amount of praise that has been bestowed upon him and the functioning of the district. Tony specifically told Gabe and I that things are much different in the past 4 years in particular in our efforts on aquatic vegetation. The farmers and his that have reached out to him have been very thankful and appreciative of that. So I'll send that on because it's pretty lengthy. But I did want you to know that our field staff is receiving that kind of praise and that talk in the community. And a few of them along Garden Highway have stopped them and said, they walk along the top of the levee and said they've never seen it look so good. Are appreciative of our efforts, and the maintenance this year is outstanding. So I wanted to pass that along, that we're hearing that feedback and message from the community with the field crews in particular. Probably not something a community member would send an email directly into us or into you, but in passing, it's been very positive feedback. And one other item, we had our DWR fall inspection completed last week, and the DWR inspector who does inspections all over the state said that we are, if not the best, the second best maintained reclamation district that he's inspected in years. So it's a very seasoned inspector, and he again commended our efforts. And so I wanted to thank the board in particular in putting that leadership through. And I know, John, we worked on the operations committee a number of years ago to address the aquatic vegetation issues. And even part of this email, our consultant and so the leadership to apply that to the budget and make a real big effort there and change the kind of recipe that we use has really been paying off. We knew it would take a couple of years. We were about a decade behind in getting caught up, but making that change over, our pesticide applicator, our consultant that we use, comes and does an inspection as well. And he says, I can't believe how quickly things have turned around. And so potentially our application costs will go down because we're not as heavily loaded anymore. And so we're making progress that'll pay in, year out. So I hope that you're seeing the same out there and hearing that same feedback, but I will forward that on to all of you so you can read it, because I think it's good news. So other than that, I did go to, at the request of Council Member Talamontes, there was an item at the County Board of Supervisors meeting on Tuesday, and it had to do with a grant, a $25 million grant that the county had received to address homelessness and to provide shelter space. So Assemblymember McCarty had provided this grant to Sacramento County, and the county, through their homeless and community engagement office, had sent out an RFQ for shelter space. So of the $25 million and some various things, they're proposing to put in about 142 beds. And some of that will go towards people that aren't experiencing homelessness currently, but on the edge. So it's like this private equity partnership with the county as well. I can send you more details on it, but specifically, the grant was awarded to the county to address homelessness in the American River Parkway. Councilmember Talamontes, or Pro Tem, asked me to attend because she had some concerns about the use and allocation of that money to make sure that it was available to RD1000. So she asked, but what made me aware of the Board of Supervisors meeting, and we talked about it because, as you recall, in December of 2022, all of a sudden we had this huge spike in encampments interior to the levee system. I remember, Ed, you sent me specifically emails that you'd gotten, calls that you'd gotten from the Cove. Remember, we had this big issue with the Cove and the whole community because all of a sudden, almost overnight, and it was overnight, we had this huge encampment. And those folks had relocated from Discovery Park in the American River Parkway. And so, and Councilmember Talamontes was also concerned that the other areas that we have seen an increase in, we're just moving people every 3 weeks to basically 3 sites, Home Depot, California Fitness, and San Juan, as well as the Cove occasionally. Those people weren't there previously to the county doing the cleanup in American River Parkway. They came from Discovery Park and resided there. So we wanted to ensure that the county would make that resource available to RD1000 specifically to address those encampments. And so county staff had made mention in their presentation that if there were people that were previously relocated from the Parkway, that they would reconnect with those individuals and make the housing available to those folks as well. And so I asked during public comment that to make sure that they engage with RD1000 staff, and we can point them towards individuals that were relocated from the Parkway. Literally, it's the same folks that we're dealing with at those 3 sites in particular that came directly from the Parkway back in December. And so we applaud the county's efforts in the Parkway, and they've done a tremendous job. We have as well, keeping people from reestablishing on the exterior levee system, but the problem's been moved interior. And so I let the county Board of Supervisors know that, we're doing our part. We're probably one of the more proactive local agencies in that regard, that we're spending, and the board's authorized the tremendous expense for security patrolling to the tune of almost $250,000 a year now. Whereas before the Boise decision, our annual budget for security was $30,000 a year. And sometimes we didn't even spend that. And so we're doing our part, and we just ask that we be included in their efforts to make some shelter space. So any help, and Supervisor Cerna asked me specifically after my testimony if I supported the staff proposal. And I gave a long-winded answer, of course, as I tend to do, conditioned it that, yes, I'm supportive of it, and any help is appreciated to deal with homeless. So we're not opposed to that. We just want to be included in that and not forgotten, because some of the impacts of the relocations have impacted us directly And so, anyway, council member Talamontes attended and made testimony, specifically in, the Northgate area and, in her district. So, felt it was necessary. So hopefully there's some relief coming, and we'll be sure there's some time frame. It's going to take some while for them to develop these beds, but I felt it was important that we made our case known, and county staff had said that they would do that. So anyway, I wanted to let you guys know that.
How would we use the money?
Oh, so the way these, the beds, in my understanding, is that be made available to those that were residing in the parkway. So it's specifically targeted because that's where Assemblymember McCarty had focused the grant fund. So it needed to be spent on parkway cleanup. And so those folks that relocated, we wouldn't be allocated any money. We would be allocated the county's resources to reach out to those folks when we do relocations and move them on, that they'll be provided a county resource, even though they reside within the city, loosely within the city, but because they were relocated from the parkway originally, that they would be allowed to participate in that program if they chose. So that's what we wanted to ensure.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Obviously, the state grant was a little bit of a controversial item on Tuesday. I happened to catch the video.
Yeah.
And I would caution, relative to making public testimony when there's a spat, I would say, between two big agencies, namely the city and the county. It appeared to me that there was a lot of stuff leading up to it in the background. It wasn't just specific about that, and understanding that it is a finite resource, and obviously can't be spread around evenly. And so I would just caution to tread carefully on those types of discussions. Frankly, it would feel that being in close communication, obviously in coordination with staff, and those discussions seem to me to not really be ones that are most productive at the dais relative to an award on a specific project. So just words of caution, because no good deed goes unpunished, Kevin.
Yeah, I know that, and I felt a little bit caught between the two demands. So
Yeah. One follow-up question unrelated to that. Who's our competition?
our competition.
Yeah, relative to that state inspector, you said we're
Oh, you didn't say. There's always room for improvement.
well, that's what I thought. That's what I want to say. I don't know how to take that as an insult or who this inspector is. He's gonna be off my Christmas card list.
I mean, I liken it to, when you have more than one child, that, while you may have your favorite, you can't admit it. And so it's playing that game with making sure that everyone feels loved and don't give too much praise on your favorite, right?
But at the end of the day, every kid knows.
So we're left with that.
We're the favorite. Okay, I guess.
But you can't praise too much, so.
Okay, on to the operations manager.
Oh, no favorites, and it changes, but.
Okay.
So anyway, that's all I have for the general manager's report. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, Kevin, just going back to the response to encampments. I think I asked this question before, right after the sort of working on that decision on rat spats. So has the city amended its SOP quickly enabled dispatch, or is it still an issue of resource?
They have upped their response time, but there still is a resource limitation and, a scheduling issue with it. So even though they have upped the response time, it's still an allocation issue, that we're finding. So we're continuing to work with the city and not making the urgent requests. We're going to save that request when we get into flood season and we do see a more significant risk. It is a risk always, but when we get in flood season and the river elevations are higher, I think we want to save that political capital and that working relationship for those times. But there is, yes, as far as we understand, a resource limitation with the city specifically.
So if you, or if you use the existing SOP, which I understood was, we have the 72 hours.
No, that's changed. It's down to 1 24-hour notice.
Well, okay.
But here's the problem. If you can move around quicker or much more, but that takes more staff, right? So they just don't have the staffing levels to move them as quickly, right? Because a lot of people are calling in, hey, I got to come here. It's 24-hour notice. Come help me. They just don't have the staff to do that. But the SOP has been changed. Yeah.
So it doesn't take as long to provide the notification, but the scheduling still takes long.
Yeah.
You know, on the front end. So
Well, I'd like to go back to the primrose. I want to thank Gabe and his leadership in addressing that. I remember that was one of your first projects out of the gate. And it was a little controversial with the other parts of the community. And I really want to say thank you for taking that on. You know, obviously, it's paying a dividend. And Jag, you know, the chair of operations for like 4 years now. Yeah. So thanks, guys. Good teamwork. On to the operations manager report.
Yeah, there's just a few items here to highlight. We are doing some preliminary planning for the annual steelhead cleanup. We're looking to perform that the last week of September tentatively. We did just run into a hurdle this morning. The rangers who typically pass out notices to the encampments have decided not to do that this year. So we're gonna, Richard with the water board, we're gonna get together next week, try to figure out a game plan on how to attack that. Because without the notices, it's gonna be difficult to get in there and perform the cleanup. So not sure why the Rangers decided not to do it, but they have. So we're gonna circle back and come up with a game plan on how to notice these folks. And it may be me reaching out to Brian Pedro, the incident commander, to see if the city can help us with that. Or we do it ourselves. We'll see. But typically we hire our security firm to be there when we do the notices. So it could be an expense, but I'll get with Kevin and we'll decide what we want to come up with. But unfortunately, that's what's going on right now. But yeah, I'll keep you updated when it comes to that. Another highlight is pumping plant 2, which was the transformer had an explosion last year. We finally got the switchgear installed, so that pumping plant will be operational this flood season. Testing and startup is left, so that should occur here in the next 2 weeks. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Do you have any questions? All right, thank you.
I do want to remind the board on the election that nomination petitions are due by September 19th. And so if you need assistance with the paperwork for the incumbents, if you're deciding to put in a nomination petition, Jolene and Nick are here to help. Nick Casey, our admin assistant, filling in for us right now. So if you need help after the meeting, we'd be happy to help out in that regard. And they're due by, I think it's 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock on the 19th. So if you intend to run again, we'll need to have that paperwork in.
On to district council. It's nice to see you again. It's been 4 months.
Good morning. Two very few items this morning. Good morning. Very few items this morning. One, wanted to let you know that this is Rebecca's last month of maternity leave, so she and I will be back to kind of alternating appearances. She wanted me to let you know that she is, as always, available to support the district on the election, should that be needed. Other than that, it's been a pretty quiet month. We've done almost no work for the district this month, which is great from a billing perspective, and nice that there aren't any issues that need attorney work right now. Happy to answer any questions that you have. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on to the consent calendar. Can I get a motion? Okay, I have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. Consent calendar is approved. On to item 6.1. I have, okay, so step in. Okay, I'll have the staff presentation.
Yeah, item 6.1 is a sponsorship opportunity to review and consider sponsorship of the 2024 Autumn International Night Market and Halloween celebration. Again, this is part of the community outreach that the Urbanization Committee reviewed as part of our calendar of events for the year. This was one that the organizational committee recommended that we attend. So we did the first one recommended by the organization committee, which was National Night Out. This would be our second one for the year, fiscal year. We'll be at the Natomas, the North Natomas Regional Park, same location as the National Night Out. So it's a good opportunity for the district to be out and involved in the community. And then a few weeks after, we'll be attending the High Water Jamboree, same location put on by the city. So before you is the sponsorship request. Staff is recommending to sponsor at the bronze level. The only difference between bronze and silver is that there's an opportunity to speak at the event at the silver level. I don't think we really need to put on a presentation or speak, so appreciate that. But we'll be there and have a booth and hand out materials, informational materials about the district. So staff's recommending the bronze level at $500.
Okay. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think these outreach efforts certainly pay dividends and certainly educate our ratepayers. So I'm always supportive of having definitely a presence out there. It's definitely making a difference. I think in terms of educating folks and making them aware of, what that little line item on their annual tax bill does. So I support this sponsorship and move that we approve to allocate the requested amount.
Could I just also say I agree with Nick, and I think our logo on vehicles is giving us more exposure, and I think it's that sort of thing that the letter that you were going to forward to us from our supervisor, where somebody knows who we are and acknowledges that. So $500 is a very modest expense for us to go ahead. And did you make a motion?
I did.
This could be a second.
Any more comments? Okay. Let's open it up for public comment first. Hearing none. We have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Items approved. Oh, make sure we have an abstain for Ed.
It's not technically, it's abstaining.
It's recused.
It's recused.
So it doesn't give you that list of habits. He left the meeting and returned after.
Okay.
The abstaining would be that. He's not even here. Motion passed.
And we have no closed session items today.
Yes.
So can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, see you guys in October.
Back to your old floor, 25 minutes.
Yes. Used to be 15.
Good night. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now that we're done. Love it.